Welcome one and all to another episode of Lens of Truth, a series breaking down all things Ocarina of Time. We'll be taking a detailed look at the story, dungeons, towns, minigames, game mechanics, and way more that Ocarina of Time has to offer, so if you're interested to see more after this video concludes, do consider subscribing to stay tuned. On our last episode, we roamed around the innards of the Zora's Lord Jabu Jabu with the Zora Princess in order to obtain our third and final spiritual stone, which will allow us to bring peace to this realm ridden with evil. On today's episode, we're gonna go back to Zelda and Hyrule Castle and figure out what the next steps we need to take are now that we have all three stones. So we're coming out from Zora's River from another job well done at the Zora's Domain, and we're feeling pretty good. We've managed to get a hold of all three spiritual stones, we haven't had a single run-in with Ganondorf ourselves, who we suspect wants all these stones as well, and it's a bright and sunny day in Hyrule. Actually, scratch that. It's getting pretty cloudy now. Also, why is the drawbridge to Hyrule Castle Town closed? Something here is off, and it's not gonna take long for us to figure out exactly what's up. Walking up to the castle wall, the rain begins to pour down as the drawbridge opens up. Quickly riding out of town, we see Zelda and Impa riding on horseback. Neither of them say anything to us as they leave, and we obviously didn't have any time to get a word in, but before they're out of sight, Zelda tosses something towards us which lands in the moat surrounding the castle walls. This is all very confusing, and before we can even attempt to make any sense of it all, Ganondorf appears in front of us from the drawbridge. He's so tall and imposing with his presence, and sitting atop this all-around spooky looking armored horse just makes him all the more intimidating. Not being one to mince words, he looks at us and asks which way the white horse went. We say nothing, and just take a couple of scared steps away from him. Of course, he's not very happy about the fact that we're trying to protect Zelda and Impa, so we draw our sword and shield, unsure of what might happen in the coming seconds. Ganondorf simply laughs at our attempt at courage and blasts us with magic that sends us flying like it was nothing to him. This event is just like the dream we had right before the start of this entire adventure. We are easily outmatched, and Ganondorf obviously knows it. Before he leaves to try to find Zelda and Impa, he tells us his name face to face for the first time, as well as telling us that he's gonna be the one to rule the world. Then, he just runs off, taking his nightmarish bad weather with him. There's definitely something up with that guy, and if he claims he's gonna rule the world, he must have some sort of diabolical plan or something up his sleeve. Without knowing where Zelda's gone, and knowing most certainly that we won't be able to face Ganondorf if we come across him again, there's only one thing to do. We gotta see what it was that Zelda threw into the water earlier. We jump into the water, and by locking onto the item, it's pretty easy to see what it is she threw to us. It's the Ocarina of Time. The fact that Zelda just threw this over to us while sprinting away on horseback puts a pretty bad omen in the air here. She said she would protect it while we looked for all the stones, right? Now Ganondorf's chasing her out of the castle, and I'm just left here to put all the pieces together? I know she gave me the whole history lesson about the goddesses and stuff when I was talking to her in the castle, but I don't really know what to do with all this stuff. But that doesn't actually matter. In simply picking up the Ocarina of Time, we flash into a vision left by Zelda through some sort of magic. In this ghostly message, she tells us that she wasn't meant to take her leave so early. It just so happened circumstance forced her to do it before she was ready. The one thing she needs us to know with this legendary ocarina in our hands is how to play the Song of Time. Promptly, we are taught how to play the song before everything goes white once again. The last thing we hear is Zelda telling us to play this new melody in front of the altar at the Temple of Time in order to protect the Triforce and therefore protect the entire realm. We have no time to lose. We don't know exactly what's gonna happen when we play the Song of Time inside the Temple of Time with all these spiritual stones on us, but it seems pretty damn urgent at this point, so it's best we don't delay. Walking into the Temple of Time, we're greeted with the same foreboding music we heard during our vision with Zelda moments earlier, and in fact, I think in that vision she was standing right here in front of this altar in this very temple. We play the song, and the spiritual stones immediately react. They float around the altar in front of us before all filing automatically into place. The Triforce symbol above the door beyond the altar flashes gold, and the door of time begins to give way. Walking into this final room of the Temple of Time, there's only one thing left to see. For a moment, we stand still, partially in awe of where we are and what we're seeing, but also partially just in curiosity about what it is that's actually in front of us. But as Navi flies over closer to it, she confirms all suspicions and tells us that we're standing in the presence of the legendary blade. We're actually standing face to face with the Master Sword. I mean, at this point, there's only one thing we're meant to do, right? We have to pull that sword. Nobody's gonna be upset with us if we just give it a try, right? Plus, if we aren't meant to be the ones to pull the blade from the stone, then we just won't be able to, right? No harm in giving it a shot. I mean, we've come this far. Without thinking any more about it, we step on top of the stone's pedestal, we grab it by the hilt, and we release it from where it stood as our screen fades to white. I know this is a bit of a tease, everybody, but this is actually where I'm gonna be leaving off today's episode of Lens of Truth. To some of you, it may seem like we're coming dangerously close to the end of our journey, but to others who know better, well, let's just say that that couldn't be further from the truth. The next episode of Lens of Truth will be coming out on January 3rd, so we can kick off the new year with a bang, and I hope to see you all there for it. Ocarina of Time is such a special game to me, and this is truly one of the coolest moments in the game coming up, in my opinion, so I thought it would be a great way to transition from 2024 to 2025. As always, everyone, I do post videos like this every single Friday, so if you'd like to see more like this one, do feel free to subscribe in order to stay tuned for every weekly video I post. If you'd like to see last week's episode of Lens of Truth, or if you'd like to see the entire playlist of videos I've done for this series so far, those will be on screen now. As for me, that's my time. My name's Myloe, and I'm out.